Come back right now. Mom is. This morning, I guess what I said in a strong tone really got on his nerves, because my husband angrily cut me off.
I'm busy. I'm on a business trip.
I know you're not on a business trip.
You're so annoying. Yeah, fine. I'm not on a business trip.
Then, you're coming home, right?
Nope, can't. I'm on vacation with your sister.
What? With my sister. Why? So, my sister was your mistress.
That's right. Anyway, we're about to take off on our flight. I'll be sure to have a great time with Kevin.
Well, we're about to have Mom's funeral.
Huh? What kind of nonsense are you spouting?
Can't you tell the difference between a joke and something serious? Sadly, it's the truth. I'm switching to a video call now, so you can see for yourself. With that, I switched to a video call. Hello? Can you see this? It's Mom's portrait.
What?
My sister and Kevin froze for a few seconds as they stared at Mom's portrait. My name is Michelle. I'm a 32-year-old freelance web designer. I work from home and live with my husband. My husband's name is Kevin. He was introduced to me by a client I was working with, and we hit it off right away. We started dating without any issues and eventually got married. Back when we were dating, Kevin was a calm and kind person, but as soon as we got married, he became colder and colder. It happened on one of those days. What? Another business trip? You just said that last week, right? I was surprised when Kevin, who had just gone on a business trip a few days ago, said he was leaving again for a 3-day trip. Isn't that a little too frequent? I know that business trips are part of a sales job, but I haven't heard anything about him changing departments since we got married. It feels unnatural for his work environment to change so drastically all of a sudden.
I told you already, didn't I? I've got this annoying client who keeps calling me out to different places. Unlike you, who just sits around clicking buttons on the internet, I actually earn my money by moving around.
Kevin said this and then threw an empty suitcase in front of me. Why do I have to put up with this? That thought weighed down on my chest. I stared silently at the suitcase. Kevin didn't seem to care at all and, after finishing his meal and bath, went straight to bed. Even when I approached the bed, Kevin was snoring and showed no signs of waking up. Right in front of me was his phone. If I used his fingerprint, I could easily unlock it and see what was inside. As I picked up his phone to do just that, the screen suddenly lit up. A notification from a messaging app appeared, showing an icon that was clearly of a woman.
I'm so excited for this weekend's trip. Last weekend was all about shopping, so this time let's relax at the hot springs and get cozy.
Strangely, I didn't feel angry. Instead, I was almost happy that I now had solid evidence to demand compensation from Kevin and this woman. Now's my chance while he's passed out drunk. I unlocked Kevin's phone and opened the messaging app. Quickly, I started taking pictures of the screen with my phone, scrolling through slowly. I captured all the messages they had exchanged, dating back to when their relationship seemed to have started. There were even photos of them together in bed, completely naked. My hands shook, and I had to fight to keep them steady. I need to figure out whether Kevin's overnight stays were really business trips or just an excuse to meet his mistress. When I checked with a friend who worked at the same company as Kevin, it turned out that not everything was a lie. He did go on business trips occasionally. But even so, gathering evidence was ridiculously easy, and Kevin didn't stir at all. It's like he doesn't even care about hiding his affair. Does he really think I'm that stupid? His carelessness made my head spin. Even the next morning, Kevin didn't seem to suspect a thing. He sat down, waiting for breakfast as usual, and complained.
You know, your cooking is always so bland. It's not good. I mean, I'm out there working hard on my feet while you get to make money easily from home.
He kept whining about how difficult his life was and belittling my work. Watching him walk out the door, I didn't feel a thing. I even had the presence of mind to think, maybe I should start looking for a lawyer. Kevin seemed to be in a slightly better mood since I had stopped saying anything. The weekend came. For once, Kevin said.
I'm heading out.
And with that, he left for his so-called business trip, which was really an affair getaway. As I tidied up the house and debated whether to go grocery shopping for dinner, I received a rare phone call from an unexpected person. I have an older sister, a younger Miles, and a younger sister. The call was from my younger brother, Miles. Miles is also married but lives with our mom to save money for a house. Hello? What's going on? When I answered the phone, his voice sounded more downcast than the last time we spoke.
Michelle, I'm sorry to call you out of the blue, but Mom passed away.
What? No way! That can't be true! I screamed in disbelief. Images of my mom, who I had spent so much time with, flashed through my mind. The sudden news of her passing hit me like a stab in the heart.
It's true. She collapsed this morning. We called an ambulance right away, but she didn't make it. I've been trying to reach Julie, but I can't get through to her. Do you know where she is?
I'm so sorry, I can't help. I don't know where Julie is.
I see. Sorry for bothering you during such a busy time. Are you and Kevin coming?
For a moment, I hesitated. The urge to spill everything to my Miles almost overcame me, but now wasn't the time. It wasn't something he needed to hear right now. Kevin is on a business trip right now. So I'm going by myself.
Got it.
Let me know if there's anything I can do to help.
Thanks, sis. Honestly, there's so much to do, and I can't keep up with everything.
My deepest condolences about Mom. I once again expressed my sympathy to Miles and said, "You sound busy, so I'm gonna come over and help right now." After letting him know I was coming to help, I hung up the phone. Then I immediately called Kevin. With my heart aching from the sadness of losing my mom, I grew anxious as he took forever to answer the phone. After ringing more than 10 times, he finally picked up. His voice was clearly annoyed. "Finally, you answered." "Actually, my mom." As I began to speak, Kevin cut me off with these words.
You dumb wife. Didn't I tell you not to call me at work unless it's important?
His irritated voice shouted from the other end of the line, and for a moment, I couldn't breathe. I could tell he was mad because I interrupted his affair trip. Knowing that made my blood boil. "Come home right now! Mom passed away this morning." I said it firmly, feeling like he had to know. But maybe my strong tone ticked him off because he cut me off again.
I'm on a business trip and I'm busy.
"I know you're not on a business trip."
Come on, you're so annoying. Fine, I'm not on a business trip.
"Then you can come home, right?"
Nope, can't. I'm on a trip with your sister overseas.
"Wait, with my sister? Why?"
Why? Do I really need to explain it?
Too bad for you. Looks like I'm more attractive.
Julie. Julie has always been the type to take whatever or whoever she likes, even if it's mine. She even stole my boyfriend back in school. I can't believe she's still like this as an adult. And now she's stolen my husband, not just a boyfriend. Kevin is also to blame for giving in. So Julie was Kevin's affair partner.
That's right. So now we're off on a fun trip. I'm gonna have a great time with Kevin.
We'll talk about this when you get back. But for now, you two should hurry and come home.
Why? We're about to leave for an overseas vacation. Don't ruin it. Stupid wife.
With that, Kevin angrily ranted and hung up on me. As I stood there, my hand shaking while holding the phone, I was left in shock and confusion. He didn't even listen to me. After that, no matter how many times I called, I couldn't get through, and eventually, I heard a message saying either the phone was off or there was no signal. It's hopeless. I took a deep breath. If he really doesn't want to talk to me that badly, if he told me not to call, then I'll listen. After all, they're the ones who said it. They have no right to complain later. I left a note on the dining table saying I was going back to my parents' house, quickly packed my bags, and left the house. By the time I arrived at my parents' place, it was already evening. My younger sister, Amanda, and my brother, Miles, greeted me in the midst of the chaos. On the table, there was a list of things the remaining family members needed to do, and a ton of scattered paperwork.
Sorry, Michelle, we're still in the middle of everything. There are so many people to contact, and we haven't even started organizing anything.
It's fine. Let's take care of everything together, the three of us.
By the way, where's Kevin?
Thinking I would have come with him, Miles looked at me curiously, furrowing his brow, and Amanda also checked outside, wondering if Kevin's car was there. Gathering my courage, I told them about the phone call I had with Kevin and Julie a few hours earlier. An unbearable silence filled the room, and then it was Amanda who spoke first.
What? I can't believe this. Those two, seriously. What are they thinking?
She was clearly trying to hold back her anger, clenching her fists so hard they trembled, her face turning red.
Julie, damn it. This is a joke, right?
He muttered in a shockingly low voice. That night, I stayed at my parents' house, and the next morning, everyone went out in a rush to submit the death certificate and apply for the funeral. I contacted the relatives I couldn't reach the day before, saying, "Yes, our mother passed away yesterday, and we're holding the wake at 6 p.m. today at the hall." I dedicated myself to preparing for the wake. Despite the short notice, many people came to pay their respects to my mother.
I'm so sorry to hear about the sudden loss. My deepest condolences.
With every word of sympathy, someone would eventually ask,
Wait, where's your eldest sister? And I don't see your husband either, Michelle.
I explained. My sister's whereabouts are unknown, and my husband is on an important business trip he just couldn't miss. Some people reacted with disbelief, others with anger.
What do you mean her whereabouts are unknown at her own mother's funeral?
A business trip during his mother-in-law's funeral? Is it really that important?
Some even tried to call Kevin and Julie right there. I had no idea where they were on their overseas trip, but neither of them answered any calls, probably because their phones were still turned off. The night passed in a blur of activity, and I collapsed into bed. The next day.
Michelle, I think you really need to get in touch with Julie about the funeral.
Yeah, I don't want them here either, but thinking about Mom, they should come.
Urged by my siblings, I kept calling right up until the funeral was about to start. At first, the same message played, saying the phone was off or out of signal, but eventually, the call went through, probably because they had turned their phones on. After more than 100 calls. Finally, I got through.
What do you want? Stop blowing up my phone.
Yeah, we're trying to enjoy our vacation. All these calls are ruining it.
Well, Mom's funeral is starting now.
Huh? What kind of nonsense are you talking about?
Do you really not understand the difference between a bad joke and something serious? Unfortunately, it's the truth. I'm switching to video call so you can see for yourself. I switched to a video call. Can you see this? It's Mom's memorial portrait.
What?
Both Julie and Kevin stared at the screen for a few seconds, frozen in shock.
Are you kidding me? Is this some kind of prank because we're on a trip together?
A prank? You scared me. Don't joke about stuff like that. It's not funny.
They tried to brush it off.
Julie, Kevin, I really wish it were a joke.
He spoke quietly, trembling with anger.
Julie, if you don't come back soon, you're going to miss saying goodbye to Mom. I don't know where you are, but you should at least come to the funeral.
Wait, is this really Mom's funeral?
Yes, like I've been telling you.
No way. Why? Mom.
I didn't hear anything about this. Why didn't you tell us sooner?
I tried. I've been calling for days, trying to tell you.
Oh no.
I'm sure both your phones are full of missed calls from me, Miles, and all our relatives. At my words, Kevin fell silent and looked away. I didn't know when he had turned his phone back on, but altogether, we must have made over 200 calls trying to inform them about Mom's passing.
Maybe we could just say the signal was bad because we were traveling?
Oh no. You're not getting off that easily. I'll make sure everyone knows the truth. You'd better hurry home. There might not be a place for you here when you get back. Realizing they couldn't pretend they didn't know, Kevin exclaimed.
Julie, we have to go back now.
He spoke to Julie, who was crying hysterically, and then he ended the call. After that, we siblings were able to say our goodbyes to our mother. However, at the moment of the final farewell, I couldn't hold back my tears in front of my mother's peaceful face. Without caring who saw, I cried loudly, embracing Miles and Amanda as we mourned together. After the funeral, we returned to the house. It seemed that neither Kevin nor Julie had returned from their trip. The next afternoon, rough footsteps echoed, and Kevin burst into the room with Julie trailing behind him.
Did I make it in time?
At those words, Miles rushed up to him and threw a right hook straight at Kevin's face. Kevin screamed, collapsing loudly onto the floor, and Amanda slapped Julie across the face.
How could you go on a trip when Mom had just died? The wake and funeral are already over.
Kevin, how do you even have the nerve to show your face now? If I were you, I'd be too ashamed to come.
Kevin, clearly not expecting to be hit, just stood there with a dumbfounded look on his face. When he finally processed what had happened, his face slowly flushed with anger, and he shouted back.
Are you kidding me? There was no reason to punch me, just because I didn't go to some stupid mother-in-law's funeral.
Some stupid. Just because you didn't go to the funeral. Not wanting to admit his fault, Kevin glared at me.
It's your fault for not telling me what was going on fast enough. If you'd just said it clearly, Julie and I would have turned right around at the airport.
Enough! You two didn't even try to listen to what Michelle had to say.
Miles' cold voice drowned out Kevin's shouting. While Miles still trembled with anger, Amanda looked up at Kevin and Julie with nothing but disdain.
Have you even considered that maybe she's lying?
That's not possible. I recorded the entire conversation. I've already played it for Miles and Amanda. Do you want to hear it too? When I showed them my phone, Kevin and Julie's eyes widened in shock.
What? Why did you record it?
Because of my job, I have all my phone calls automatically recorded. It's useful for tracking details, especially when people try to backtrack on what they said. That includes the call I had with you. I've already played it for my siblings. Amanda glared up at Kevin, and Miles' voice remained cold.
And by the way, Kevin, you lied to Michelle, didn't you? I heard from your company. There haven't been any business trips in your department, and it looks like you've been using up your paid vacation.
What? You checked up on me at work?
Yes, I did. When you couldn't even attend your mother-in-law's funeral, I got suspicious. Or is there something you're worried about people finding out? Miles, who had been quiet until then, raised his pale face and looked at Kevin with a serious expression.
So what exactly were you doing with Julie, leaving Michelle behind and taking time off work?
Kevin arrogantly shouted back.
None of your business.
As Kevin yelled, I activated my phone. It contained all the evidence I'd gathered of his affair with Julie. It was a trip with your mistress, Julie. I showed the messages and receipts for the gifts Kevin had bought for Julie to Amanda and Miles.
Hey, don't you dare show them that.
Ignoring his outburst, I continued showing them the messages between Kevin and Julie, as well as the receipt from a luxury store, likely for a gift he'd bought her. I even showed them the texts exchanged before their trip.
What is this? I can't believe it. You missed Mom's funeral for this trip with him? And these messages, they're disgusting.
Amanda's expression turned to one of pure disgust. Miles, still in shock, turned pale as he looked between Kevin and Julie.
This isn't just about the trip. This is a betrayal of my sister. And buying gifts for a woman who's not even your wife. That's a huge financial hit to our family.
The fact that Kevin wasn't contributing financially to our household, instead spending money on Julie, was something that Miles couldn't forgive.
Wait a minute, what are you looking at?
Kevin, enraged, snatched my phone away from us. After glancing at the contents, he screamed.
When did you start looking through my stuff? How did you get these messages between me and Julie?
He stepped toward me, as if ready to grab me. As he violently grabbed my shirt, Miles rushed to hold him back. In his frustration, Kevin angrily hurled my phone onto the floor, making a loud, painful sound in the tense room. I didn't want to do this. But you were acting suspicious. Always on business trips, never home, not contributing any money to the household, and always saying cruel things to me. I knew something was going on. I picked up my phone from the floor and continued. And by the way, I only saw that message from Julie by accident one night. There were other pieces of evidence all over the house. You're so bad at hiding things that it was almost laughable. That pushed Kevin over the edge.
You talk too much. When you've got a wife and family and you're successful at work, women just throw themselves at you. That's how it works for men. Or would you rather be married to some loser who never has anyone paying attention to him?
I couldn't help but lower my head. Not because I was hurt, but because his absurd excuse was so pathetic, it made me laugh. After composing myself, I took a deep breath and responded. You don't get to say that unless you actually take care of your family. You don't have the right to talk about being successful. Don't ever come back to this house. In the end, I heard that soon after, Kevin was completely disowned by his family. His behavior, mistreating his wife, having an affair, refusing to show any remorse, and his lack of compassion regarding my mother's death, was more than enough for them to sever ties with him. I packed up all of his belongings and began living comfortably on my own. And of course, I was preparing to address the infidelity properly with a lawyer to settle the matter of alimony. After sending the formal notice of the alimony request to Kevin and Julie, I began receiving frantic messages from Kevin.
Come on, give me a break. I've been kicked out of my parents' house, and now I'm stuck in a cheap apartment. I can't live like this, and the alimony is way too high. You're the one who snooped through my stuff. It's not like I'm the only one to blame.
Unbothered by his complaints, I blocked his number. After the affair, Kevin and Julie started living together, but apparently, his affair being reported to HR through Amanda led him to being demoted to a dead-end position. Feeling uncomfortable at work, Kevin quit his job.
What? You quit your jobs?
Of course, I had no place there anymore.
Are you kidding me? So now you're just unemployed?
Well, we can work together. You can save money until I get a new jobs.
Don't be ridiculous. A man without money isn't a man at all. You've been riding on your looks, but that's over.
What?
I can't stay with you anymore. I can't believe I left Michelle for nothing.
Why? Fine, I'll just go back to Michelle.
I opened the door to find my former husband standing there, looking far more disheveled than I remembered. What are you doing here? I told you never to come back. I shut him down coldly, and he gave me a nasty grin.
Fine, I won't come in, but at least help me with the money. I can't even afford a new suit for work, and I can't be a top salesman like this. The alimony is too high, and I'm barely scraping by.
Now he was coming to beg for money directly. Kevin had really hit rock bottom. That's none of my concern. Why don't you ask Julie to support you?
Don't mention her. She left me as soon as I lost my job and money.
When I mocked him, Kevin bit his lip in frustration, furrowing his brow in anger. I see. So, in the end, you were dumped because you went from being her cash cow to just another burden, huh? You used to spoil Julie with expensive brands and take her on lavish trips. Looks like she only saw you as a source of money. And you were once so proud of yourself, being successful at work, unlike me, doing great in your company, right? Well then, you should take care of yourself now. Maybe you can find someone who sees you for who you are. Though, I doubt anyone would want to pick you up in your current state. Goodbye, and I hope we never meet again. With that, I slammed the door shut. I quickly contacted my lawyer, and soon after, a restraining order was issued against Kevin. Later, my lawyer told me,
"Your husband claims he can't afford to pay the alimony, and after investigating, it turns out he spent all his earnings on his affair with Julie and their outings."
Apparently, Kevin, who had thrown all responsibility for household matters onto me, lacked basic life skills and was living in squalor in his current apartment. The filthy appearance he had when he showed up at my door was the result of his inability to take care of himself. There was no way he'd find a new job in that condition, and since he couldn't cook, he'd been living on junk food, which eventually made him sick. For a while, he became a full-blown unemployed loser. Unsurprisingly, Kevin couldn't find a good job, and with the alimony payments hanging over him, he was in an even worse situation. A few months later, Amanda told me she'd seen him working as a traffic controller on the road near her business trip, looking pale and gaunt.
After all the times he looked down on people and acted so selfishly, it's almost poetic that he's stuck in a low-paying jobs with no freedom. It's quite the punchline.
As for Julie, I heard rumors that she was cut off from the family and couldn't pay her portion of the alimony, so she had to borrow money from shady lenders. Apparently, she's now working in the adult industry to pay off her debts. After that, I used my savings, along with the alimony, to move into a new place as soon as possible. The apartment I'd shared with Kevin held too many bad memories, and I wanted to leave that part of my life behind. My workload continued to grow, and with trust from multiple clients, I was steadily building up my career. Living on my own, dedicating myself to my work, it was a fulfilling new chapter. A few months later, I began dating a man I met at a cafe. He worked in project development for a major company, and he admired and respected my work as a web designer. Years later, I married him, and we were blessed with children. This time, my pregnancy went smoothly, and our baby is growing healthily. My new husband is incredibly kind and supportive, especially during my pregnancy. We're preparing for the baby's arrival together, excited for the future. I'm enjoying a peaceful life with my loving husband and the little family we're about to welcome. How did you like this story? Don't forget to subscribe to the channel. See you in the next video.